Hello, I'm David Keller from Rochester College. For the last few days, we've been looking at the story of Ruth. I hope you've been reading the story. If you haven't, let me encourage you to do so. As we conclude our devotionals on this wonderful narrative, I want to recall for us that this story of loyalty, God's providence, the value of God's law, and fruitfulness in being obedient to that law takes place during the time period of the Judges. There's hardly a starker contrast in Scripture than the way this time period is portrayed in the book of Ruth, as opposed to the portrayal in the book of Judges. In Judges, the narrator reminds us that there's no king in Israel, and by implication, God is not honored as king as he rightfully should have been. Because Israel was disobedient, had become idolatrous, God punished them and allowed them to be oppressed by the surrounding nations and the nations they allowed to live in their midst. Israel would cry out to God in their oppression, and God would raise up a judge to deliver them. There are some wonderful stories of deliverance by these judges, Deborah, Gideon, Samson. But after a period of deliverance, Israel would again forget God, and God would give them over to oppressors. It's in this context of national oppression and warfare that Ruth's story finds its home. But we've learned that through Ruth's story, a spiritual deliverance for the whole world will come, a deliverance unparalleled by any of the accounts in the book of Judges. We often might ask ourselves, am I of much value to God and His kingdom? What work can I do that will possibly have any significant impact for God? Ruth's story tells us that God can use ordinary people, people on the fringes, people indeed who seem to have more needs than resources. Let's remember today that the cup of cold water given in the name of the Lord can have eternal consequences. Let's live out what Paul wrote to the church in Corinth. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. May you find direction this day as you serve the Lord.